There are people who walk through a military base and vanish into the rhythm of it. The foot traffic, the grinding machinery, the clipped voices calling cadence. You don't see them because they don't want to be seen. Quiet faces, neutral expressions, controlled breathing. And sometimes, hidden inside that anonymity is a legend nobody recognizes. Her name on paper was Chief Warrant Officer Elise Ward, 51 years old. Brown hair streaked with the pale silver of someone who's spent more nights awake than asleep. A body carved by decades of conditioning but held loosely, humbly, as if she were just another mid-career soldier trying to make it to Chow on time. Most who saw her assumed she was administrative staff. But Elise Ward had spent 25 years inside a place almost no one saw. Naval Special Warfare, SEAL operations, the black budget teams, the missions that didn't exist, the people who never raised their voices because their actions spoke for them. She had been shot twice, stabbed once, blown off a wall in Somalia, and in Afghanistan she once trekked 14 miles with a fractured tibia to extract a wounded teammate. But none of that was written on her face. You could walk past her and think nothing. And that was the point. On an unremarkable Tuesday morning, she arrived at Camp Hanford, a joint base installation tucked in the desert. She was temporarily assigned as a training liaison, low-profile, quiet work. By Friday night, she would be lying on a medical gurney with bruises blooming across her ribs, a concussion forming, and blood drying along her cheek. And the Marine who attacked her, the one who slammed her into a wall, the one who whispered, "Die now," as if delivering a punchline, would be handcuffed, crying, terrified, and unable to understand how someone like her broke him in under 7 seconds. The base would never be the same, but the real story wouldn't be the fight. It would be the truth that followed, a truth Elise spent her entire life refusing to ignore. Truth, justice, courage, all of it buried under a military culture that too often protected the wrong people. Tonight, she would rip the floorboards open, and the entire base would watch. Camp Hanford smelled of metal shavings, hot asphalt, and burned coffee. Floodlights beat down on the concrete motor pool yard like miniature suns. Humvees sat in neat, rectangular formations. Somewhere far beyond the hangars, distant artillery drills pulsed, slow, steady, rhythmic. It was the kind of place where tension lived in the air. Waiting for a spark, Elise walked alone across the lot, carrying nothing but a folder. The wind tugged lightly at her uniform. Her pace was steady, measured, almost meditative. She never rushed. Rushing invited mistakes. At Building 17, an old, echoing structure used by the Marine Detachment, she paused in front of the steel doors. She breathed once, centered herself, then entered. Inside, the atmosphere changed instantly. Voices were louder. Music leaked from somewhere. A weightlifter grunted. A pair of corporals argued near the sparring mats. And in the center of the room, dominating the air like a storm, stood Staff Sergeant Marcus Hale, 6'3", broad shoulders, neck thick as a tree trunk, a man whose uniform fit him like armor, a man who liked how small other people felt around him. He was laughing at something, not a friendly laugh, the kind that slaps you across the face. Elise recognized the type instantly. She'd seen men like Hale in every branch, every deployment, every training program, men who confused rank with superiority, men who believed fear was leadership, men who punched down, never up. She walked past him without acknowledging him, which, to people like Hale, was usually the spark. "Hey!" His voice was sharp, directed at her. Elise didn't turn. She kept walking toward the briefing room. "I said, hey!" Footsteps, heavy, closing in. She stopped. Slowly, calmly, she turned. Hale towered over her. A predator expecting prey. "Who the hell are you?" he asked, squinting at her rank insignia. Elise answered with the most unthreatening tone possible. "Just here to observe training." He leaned closer. "Observe? What, like an inspector?" "No, a liaison," he scoffed. "You look like a desk type. You ever been outside a damn office?" A quiet breath escaped her nose. Nothing more. She didn't rise to it, didn't bite, didn't let the ego in front of her decide the tone of the room. "I've served long enough," she said simply. Hale grinned. "I bet. Bet you served coffee." A few Marines nearby chuckled. Elise just nodded once, neither agreeing nor disagreeing, just acknowledging he'd spoken. But that calm dismissal struck harder than any comeback. Hale's jaw tightened. "You ignoring me?" he demanded. "No," she said. "Just working." Hale took one step closer, close enough for her to smell mint gum and something bitter beneath it. "You walk in here like you own the place," he growled. Elise didn't blink. "No, I walk where I'm told." For a moment there was a standoff. Quiet, taut, coiled. Then she turned and continued walking. Hale watched her go. His nostrils flared, his fists tightened, and a low, dangerous smile curled onto his face. Predators hate being ignored. The next 2 days spread Hale's resentment like wildfire. Marine gossip was efficient, cruel, fun for the board. She thinks she's above everyone. Heard she snitched on someone in admin. Hale said she disrespected him. No way she's a warrant officer. Looks too soft. Nothing Elise did helped, because silence in a rumors world always looks like guilt, but she didn't engage. She focused on her work, reviewing training schedules, consulting on readiness, quietly fixing logistics errors that no one else noticed. That alone irritated Hale more. By Thursday night, the room shifted. You could feel it in the air. The way people stared too long, whispered too fast. A storm was coming, and Elise knew it. Friday. 2200 hours. The base wind howled over the supply yards, rattling chain-link fences. Most personnel were at the rec hall or sleeping. Elise walked into Building 17 alone. She needed a file she'd left earlier. The lights were dimmer at night, a soft, industrial hum echoing through the hallways. She turned the corner toward the office and froze. 3 Marines stood there. Hale, Corporal Vance, Private Torres. All waiting, Hale stepped forward, arms folded. "Well, look who's still working past her bedtime." Elise didn't react. "I just need my folder." "Yeah?" Hale smirked. "Funny, we need something too." Vance cracked his knuckles. Torres shifted nervously. "This won't take long," Hale said. "Just want you to learn your place." Elise's fingers tightened around nothing. The hallway felt smaller, narrower, dangerous. She'd spent years surviving ambushes. This one wasn't special. But 3 Marines in a dark hallway wasn't the part that concerned her. It was the look in Hale's eyes. He wasn't there to scare her. He was there to hurt her. Hale stepped closer. "You made me look weak in front of my men," he said quietly. "I didn't do anything to you," Elise replied. He smiled. "Exactly. You're nothing." He shoved her, hard enough to slam her back against the wall. Pain shot up her spine. She exhaled slowly through her nose. "Stop," she said. "Make me." He grabbed her by the collar and lifted her onto her toes. His lips twisted into a cruel grin. "Die now," he whispered. The words weren't shouted. Not barked, not furious, just hungry. He slammed her head into the wall. Her vision flashed white. Her knees buckled. Blood trickled from her eyebrow. Vance and Torres held her arms as Hale drew back his fist. Torres hesitated. "Sir, maybe we—" "Shut up!" Hale snarled. Elise tasted iron. Something inside her went still. Cold. Focused. Dead calm. The predator in front of her didn't see the change, but Vance did. He released her arm and took a step back. Too late. Time slowed in Elise's mind, the way it always did when things broke bad. Second 1. She drove her forehead forward, smashing Hale's nose with a wet crack. Second 2. She twisted free of Torres's grip and drove her elbow into his throat, sending him sputtering to the ground. Second 3. She pivoted behind Vance, hooking his arm and slamming him into the wall shoulder first. Second 4. Hale roared, blind with pain, swinging wildly. She sidestepped. Second 5. She chopped her palm into Hale's trachea. Not enough to crush, just enough to shut everything down for a moment. Second 6. He dropped to his knees, gasping. Second 7. She pinned him to the ground, arm locked, wrist torqued, and whispered, "I warned you." The hallway fell silent. Vance froze, eyes wide. Torres coughed violently. Hale wheezed, stunned, humiliated, terrified. He had just been dismantled by someone half his size, twice his age, and 10 times his discipline. Who are you?" he rasped. Elise stepped back. Blood dripped down her cheek. "Someone who told you to stop." she said softly. She didn't attack again, didn't scream, didn't threaten. She simply walked to the office, grabbed her folder, and headed for the exit. But when she reached the door, she heard Hale's voice behind her, trembling with rage and shame. "This isn't over." Elise paused. "No," she said quietly. "It never is." Then she walked out. By morning, Hale had bandages across his nose and a story ready to spread. "She jumped us. She snapped. She's unstable. She attacked me first." Command was tired of trouble, tired of paperwork, tired of politics, and an angry, decorated Marine screaming about an assault was easier to believe than a quiet woman who didn't defend herself. Elise was placed under administrative review, her clearance suspended, her access revoked, her reputation questioned. She wasn't angry. She'd been through worse, but something in her chest tightened when she saw Torres sitting alone in the mess hall, shaking, head buried in his hands. He wasn't a predator. He was just a scared kid who followed the wrong leader. She walked over quietly. Torres flinched at the sight of her. "Private," she said gently. "You're not in trouble." He didn't look up. "They're making me lie," he whispered. "They say if I tell the truth, I'll lose rank. Or worse." "Tell the truth anyway," Elise said. Torres shook harder. I can't go against him." Elise placed a steady hand on the table. "You already did," she said. "You hesitated. That matters." Tears hit the table. Elise didn't push him, didn't shame him, didn't demand anything. She just said one sentence. "When you're ready, I'll be standing," and she walked away. The next afternoon, Elise stood in front of a panel of officers who barely looked at her. Hale sat in a sling, face bruised, acting like a victim. Vance sat beside him, stiff, rehearsed, choosing silence. Torres sat behind them, shaking visibly. The presiding officer, Colonel Rennert, read through the statements. Chief Ward: "Do you deny using excessive force against Staff Sergeant Hale?" "I defended myself," Elise said, calm but firm. "Hale claims you initiated the conflict. That's false. Do you have witnesses?" "No. They attacked me when the hallway was empty," Rennert sighed. "Chief, this is unnecessary. If you apologize, we can resolve this quietly." Elise's jaw tightened. She looked at Hale, at Vance, at Torres, then back at the colonel. "No," she said. "I won't apologize for surviving." Murmurs spread through the room. Rennert leaned back. "Chief, you're putting your career at risk." Elise exhaled slowly. "I've risked it many times, but not like them." She turned and faced Hale directly. "You knew I wouldn't fight back unless I had no choice." Hale smirked. "You're unstable, lady. Everyone sees it." Elise didn't look away, and that's when Torres stood up, shaking, pale, but standing. "Sir," he said, voice trembling. "She's telling the truth." Hale whipped around. "Torres, sit down." But the young Marine kept talking, louder now. "She didn't attack us. We waited in the hallway. Staff Sergeant Hale told us to corner her." Vance's eyes widened. "Torres!" Torres raised his voice higher, breaking into tears. "He said we were going to scare her. But he started hitting her. She told him to stop. She tried to walk away. He slammed her into the wall. He said..." Torres swallowed hard. "He said, 'Die now.'" Gasps echoed around the room. Rennert looked stunned. Hale exploded. "You little coward! Enough!" the colonel barked. Security moved. Hale fought them, screamed, cursed, threatened. But it didn't matter. The truth had broken open, and Elise finally exhaled. Not victory, not pride, just relief. A quiet, tired relief she hadn't felt in years. By sunset, Hale was handcuffed, escorted off the base pending charges. Vance confessed soon after. Torres was placed under protection. And Elise? She sat alone in the base clinic, getting her eyebrow stitched. The medic, a young lieutenant, worked gently. "I heard what happened," the medic said quietly. "Is it true? You really served 25 years as a SEAL?" Elise gave a tired smile. "Long time ago, but yes. Why didn't you tell anyone?" "Because it doesn't matter," Elise said softly. "People judge what they see, not what they don't." The medic paused. "What do you mean?" Elise looked at the dim fluorescent lights above. "Some people see a woman and think weakness. Some see age and think fragility. Some see silence and think submission. Her eyes lowered. But strength has never been loud. The medic nodded slowly. Outside the window, the sun dipped below the hangars. Floodlights flickered on. The bass continued its endless rhythm. Elise closed her eyes for a moment. Not to rest, but to breathe. She didn't celebrate, didn't gloat, didn't ask for thanks. She just waited for the ache in her ribs to fade and for the weight in her chest to lift. Later that night, Torres approached her outside the infirmary. His hands shook as he saluted her. "I'm sorry," he said, voice breaking. "For everything." Elise shook her head. "No, you did the hardest part. I was scared. Courage isn't the absence of fear," she said. "It's doing the right thing despite it." Torres swallowed. "What happens now?" "You rebuild," Elise replied. "One day at a time." He nodded, tears slipping down his cheeks. "Thank you," he whispered. Elise placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "Live better than the men who tried to break you," she said. "That's how you win." Camp Hanford returned to normal within 2 weeks, or at least the version of normal that the military pretends is normal. The gossip shifted. The fear faded. The truth settled. And Elise. She walked the base the same way she always had. Quiet, calm, invisible to those who didn't look closely. But something small had changed. People nodded at her now, not out of fear, not out of awe, out of respect. Even the base commander sought her counsel privately, asking how to fix the culture Hale had poisoned. And Elise gave him the same answer she gave everyone. Start by holding the loudest men accountable. The quiet ones do their job. The wind swept across the desert, carrying fine sand across the concrete. Elise stood near the motor pool at dusk, watching the sky shift from orange to ink black. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to feel tired. Really tired. 25 years of discipline. 25 years of secrets. 25 years of battles most people would never believe. She exhaled, then smiled faintly. Another storm had come, and passed. And she was still standing. She always would be. Courage isn't loud, power isn't cruelty, and real strength doesn't need to announce itself. Sometimes the bravest person in the room is the one who stays calm, stands alone, and speaks the truth when everyone else stays silent. Because justice doesn't start with noise. It starts with someone willing to say, "No, this ends here."